All right. Hello.
Your screen.
Excellent.
Go ahead, Jimmy. Take the roll, man.
All right. Thanks, Adam. And thanks, everyone. I'm not sure who I'm speaking with. And I'm generally that guy, that kind of Happy Gilmore guy that doesn't mind if you clap and talk and stuff while I'm talking. But I don't think I'll get any of that because Adam has muted everybody out, maybe at the end. Pleased to be asked to work with your group. Definitely has a fond remembrance on my end working exactly in the spot that you're in. Definitely some of the best times I had working, I'll call it specialty fitness, the individual consumer. So with no further ado, I'll jump right into it. Presentation overview, who's the Jimmy guy, why Schwinn, Schwinn group cycles, our computers, the conclusion, your questions. So obviously we're going to focus in strictly on the Schwinn indoor cycling lineup from Core Health and Fitness. I am the Jimmy guy, and I'm the territory and national account manager for Core Health and Fitness. I handle Ohio and Michigan. So I don't think any of our territories actually overlap, but I hear you guys do great things up in the Northeast. Well, I guess why me was kind of the question I asked Adam and Kevin when they asked me to be on. And they reminded me of some things that I forgot that I did. And I was the quality control manager for indoor cycling, specifically in our production facility. Prior to that, I was an independent prototype tester for group cycling bikes, and specifically the newest generations of both Schwinn and Star Trek. So I was asked to ride the heck out of the bikes and email the engineers and push them back information. I've wrenched on a lot of bikes, and those were good times too. I'm an 18-year group cycling instructor, and maybe I call it arguably the best job I ever had. Specialty fitness sales manager. I mean, you're kind of, you're in your own bubble there. The people come to you. I always had the mindset of it's not if, but which product they're going to buy from us. They've walked through the door. It's unlike the outside world where I have to go knock on their door. So it was a lot of fun. I definitely enjoyed it. And I guess that's why I'm here. One led to the next. So why Schwinn? Obviously, I got some interesting and varied and pretty old pictures on here. And that'll come on the next slide when I explain why. So in a word, heritage. Schwinn is far and away the most recognized brand in cycling among individual consumers who are your demographic. And I say this, I'm a cyclist, I'm a triathlete. If you can make the argument when I was a younger person selling specialty, I'd say, oh no, this other brand is better than Schwinn in cycling. And I was missing the point at that time. If you ask 1,000 random people on the street, what do they know about Cervelo and what do they know about Schwinn? And they'll equate one with cycling of some kind. And they won't know what the other one is, the majority of them. So it's extremely powerful. There's 100 years of practice behind that word association. Consumers just equate that brand name with bikes. You happen to be selling the indoor cycling variety of bikes. And it's become, over the years, a part of Americana and pop culture. So I say this in jest partly, but also in all seriousness, polish your fitness sales skills and sell your consumers on the idea of buying into fitness and changing their lifestyle or enriching their lifestyle, and let the Schwinn name do the rest. There are very few names on your sales floor that will be as recognized by your average consumer coming in. They don't know a whole lot of names in fitness, but they do know ours. So next up, Again, why Schwinn? Indoor cycling pedigree. Schwinn was the first production bike designed specifically for indoor cycling. This goes way back. This goes actually back even before I started selling in the specialty fitness world. I started in 1996. I also started teaching indoor cycling then. And you can see that Schwinn was originally licensed Mad Dog Athletics to be the official spinning bike in 1994. That's a long way back. So we've been around. We've made and sold more bikes than most of the others have even thought about. And we currently sit somewhere, I'll say, on the podium as the most widely used bike in studio group cycling class. And that's just Schwinn. That's not our parent company, which owns another name brand. We're in the top 3. You can argue either way where we are. The beauty of it is we've been around since the beginning, but we're currently and pretty aggressively gaining market share in the commercial world versus competitors, including our own other brand. So Schwinn is hot. There's no doubt about it. The products that we're offering are sought after on the commercial level, and that feeds exactly into your sales. People want to bring that indoor cycling experience into their home. And our product is definitely a segue to do that. So I talked a little bit about Schwinn. Core Health and Fitness is our parent company, and we have, without a doubt, manufactured and sold more bikes than many other competitors combined over the last 15 or 20 years. There's definitely strength in the company that is behind the Schwinn bikes. That's your lineup. We'll kind of pick these apart in a little bit. The IC Pro 20, the AC Sport, the AC Performance Plus. There's a couple words underneath there, and I'll go into that in a second. But those are your 3 base models that we'll build the rest off of. So I'll start from the bottom and go up. The IC Indoor Cycling Pro 20. It's an entry-level value-priced bike built on a long heritage, as we talked about, of a company building the first indoor cycling bikes. Carries the Schwinn legacy, some of our kind of tried and true technologies. Obviously, as our entry level, it's not going to have the latest, greatest, but it has the things that a lot of people who started spinning or indoor cycling years ago came to recognize as the way an indoor cycling bike is built. Frictional resistance or direct contact brake resistance, perimeter weighted flywheel. We updated the frame of the bike to make it look more 2016, but the hands-on, the intimate contact points are all the same. So why this bike? I took some time and highlighted what I thought you guys should know about this bike. There are a lot of specs, and if you get caught up in spec reading to your customers, it definitely becomes a little boring for them, and they start to lose concentration. But you really quickly want to go in and say, who is this bike for? You want to qualify that customer. It's entry level. It's going to be our lowest price point. It's going to be a very competitive price point versus other bikes. I'm not sure where you guys are with price. That's definitely not for me to discuss. But these are the old school people. I want my bike to feel old school. I want it to have a chain. I want it to have a perimeter weighted flywheel. I want it to have direct frictional resistance. I want the old school handlebars. Or they're price sensitive. And one feeds into the other sometimes. Sometimes you're old school because you're price sensitive. Sometimes you're price sensitive kind of as a byproduct of being old school. But you've got a lot of traditional components that make up this bike, and it is what the entire indoor cycling world was built off of between 20 and 15 years ago. We updated it pretty dramatically in the look of the bike, but kept a lot of the tried and true technologies underneath the hood. So I see pro selling points. One of the lowest entry-level prices in the commercial group bikes. I don't know exactly how that translates to your world, and that's something that obviously should translate over, apples to apples. It should be, again, a very competitively priced bike versus others with similar technologies. Uses one of the strongest bottom brackets in the industry in its category, especially. And it's built on the heritage of Schwinn. So when you're looking at low cost of entry, tried and true technologies, and the Schwinn name behind it, it's a great entry level bike. Next up, the AC Sport. This is a mid-level steel frame bike. Definitely has the cool new features. Virtual contact, state-of-the-art magnetic resistance system, and comes in your choice of old school, chain drive because I gotta have it, that's the only thing I like, or virtually maintenance free, in fact, especially in the consumer world, I would say almost completely maintenance free, carbon blue drivetrain. So we have a carbon belt that is running the connection between the pedals and the flywheel versus the chain, and you wipe away all the preventative maintenance necessary with the chain. Changes the feel a little bit, but still retains, I'd say, an authentic cycling feel versus other belt-driven bikes. And again, carries that Schwinn legacy. So highlights on the features. Again, I pulled some things up in red. This is although it's not extremely heavy flywheel, it's a high inertia perimeter weighted flywheel. So it's going to create that smooth, authentic cycling feel that people who aren't professional cyclists can benefit from. You know, if you're really good on the bike, you don't need to worry about it. But some of us aren't as smooth with our pedal stroke, and perimeter weighting of the flywheel helps to smooth that out. It gets rid of the downward push and turns it more into a circle. Definitely a step up or a way to qualify a customer into the AC Sport is the magnetic resistance. There's a buzzword there. If they want magnetic resistance, or if you want to test them on magnetic resistance, this is the first bike in the lineup that does it. There's a bunch of things that I'll kind of gloss over there for time's sake, but you can read and compare. But certainly one thing that, I like to be the tech guy. I like to be the guy that sells bikes off of the newest, latest, greatest. And I like to talk wattage and this and that and the other. But do not ever go past, once you get to the AC Sport, never underestimate the power of the handlebars. This bike and the bike above it have, without a doubt, the most comfortable, versatile, user-oriented, sought-after handlebars on the market. There's no doubt about it. And since you only really touch the bike in three areas, your butt, your feet, and your hands, it's one of the three areas that matters most. And I can make an argument it's the one that matters the most. So this bike is also compatible with all of our consoles that we'll talk about a little bit later, time allowing. So that's the AC Sport, and you see it in its chain and belt-driven prices of MSRP, $1,549, $1,849. There's definitely something to be said about moving to belt and the lower cost of ownership in the long run. Part of that being, what does it cost you time-wise to preventatively maintain the bike, or even bring somebody into your home to do it. Selling points here: magnetic resistance, without a doubt. If that's a buzzword, you got to bring them to at least this bike. It's available in either the chain or the carbon blue belt. Compatible with the Echelon consoles. So this relatively base model bike can be built up into multiple variations from its sport base model to its sport with carbon blue to one of 3 console options that can go on this. So you can see the choices are out there. And again, I'm coming into this a little bit blind, so I don't know how your company stocks, but there are options out there that we can suit your customers very, very happily. Handlebars, as I mentioned before, and obviously heritage. I think that's a repeat. So, AC Performance Plus, this is our flagship bike. It looks a lot like the last bike, but we'll make some differentiation over the next couple of pages. It's a high-end aluminum bike, features, again, state-of-the-art magnetic resistance system, available again in chain and carbon blue drive. Again, Schwinn legacy and compatible with other consoles. So what's it got that the others don't have? And, again, some things I highlight. Virtual contact brake, chain and carbon blue belt, aluminum frame. Not only is it very corrosion resistant, almost completely, especially in the consumer world, it's very lightweight. It moves around easily. I sell in the commercial world, and I get comments regularly in dual-purpose rooms how great it is to pull these bikes on and off the floor. I'm a homeowner. I'm a consumer. I have a bike in my house. It gets pulled on and off all the time, and it's nice that it's a little bit lighter, and then my wife can wheel it around with the transport wheels, and it doesn't weigh as much as some of the competitors do. Again, huge handlebar. Never talk about this bike without making the customer get on, see, touch, feel, and talk about their experience with the handlebars. Drag it out of them. What do you guys think? So MSRPs are obviously going to be up from the sport, and you have chain at $18.99, belt at $21.99. Again, MSRP. I have no idea where you're at price-wise, and you can talk about that amongst your group. So handlebars, again, definitely warrants some extra time. There's a view of them kind of from the rider's cockpit. Comfort and versatility. Those are 2 words that I would always use when describing these. A funny side story. I used to work specialty run, and we used to have these weird shoe cover thingies for running in snow and ice, and they were called yak tracks. And I could sell them 10-to-1 over everybody else in our store. And they're like, how do you sell these? They're ugly. You can only use 7 days a year. And I say 2 words every single time when somebody wants to look at those or when they talk about them. I say cut and confidence. It cuts through the ice and snow, and it gives you confidence running out there. And there are 2 words here, comfort and versatility, that I would always say when describing the cockpit and in particular the handlebars of these bikes. And I think they'll be impactful. Maybe not as much as my words on yak tracks. No one ever failed using those. So most hand positions, 5. Our handlebar is a little bit maybe cumbersome looking from me, the outdoor cyclist perspective. But again, I don't have to carry around this weight. So there are options there that I will ultimately use indoors, and I carry no weight penalty. So load it up, put the bottle in there, put the cell phone in there, put the iPod, the iPad, whatever else. You'd be amazed at what fits on those handlebars and what room is still left for you to find comfortable positions. So one of the keys to those comforts are the flattening. I'm not sure if you can see it on the base of the handlebar and also the extension or the bullhorn. We very, very carefully flatten those out to spread the force of your hand and the weight behind your hands on those. And without a doubt, you'll get comments on that. I was lucky enough to be working in the factory when this was produced, I was handed the first prototype of them in their raw form. They weren't dipped in anything yet. And I gave my feedback, and I don't think any of it was listened to, but I think they had a winner already. So those are the 5 hand positions that you can find on this here. And yeah, you can make up some others too, but those are the ones that we call out. So this console, the M Power Echelon 2 console, is our flagship console. It is able to be added to any of the bikes. Let's see. It displays all of the ride data below. One of the key features with scroll through multiple screens. We very meticulously and over multiple generations of this console changed the look of it to include and exclude different things, and came up with the final rendition of it. And one of the beauties of it is you don't change anything. Everything you need is right there at your fingertips, and without you having to change screens. All the necessaries are there, and some of the over-the-top things are there. RPM, calories, gear, heart rate, total time, distance, average, maximums, power, with the inclusion of one other piece of equipment. And here are some, what I found to be some things for maybe more so than mine, and I excluded some features that were available more so for my consumers. There's a USB port at the top of this, which will allow you to put in a thumb drive, or whatever you want to call it, and record your data from the rides, and then over to your laptop and implant it into the fitness tracker that you use, or export it in some sort of data file. And then I would say that's the hardwired way to do it. And then there's a series of Garmin watches that can read from the console using the ANT Plus signal, the ANT Plus signal. Kind of Bluetooth for fitness, you can call it. Not every Garmin out there has the capability of receiving the data from this console, so be careful as you recommend that. But it's out there. It's another one of those things that you can build on with this console. And the beauty of it is, it's available on all the bikes. Console alone has an MSRP, console plus power, MSRP of $499. There are a couple components that bolt on down below that allow for data to be pushed out to the console on a flywheel, RPM, and brake positioning to interpret resistance levels, so we can derive some of the rest of the numbers. So Cadence Pro console, this is our base model console. This is, I have a bike. I don't know what watt means. I don't want to learn what watt means. I don't want to know about power or anything like that, and I'm sure of it. I'm stuck in my way. Old school. So when to sell this, or when to incorporate this in your sale as an addition, when the customer wants ride data such as RPM, heart rate, calories, and when there's no interest in power at all. And you really want to talk to them about that. The power is the dividing line in the road there, or the fork in the road. If you want power, you need to go back to the Echelon 2. If you're never having power, Cadence Pro. Our bikes and our consoles are very modular. You can add things after. It's nice to wrap them up in the original sale, but what I say to many of my consumers, many of my health clubs and individual ma and pa kind of indoor cycling facilities is, with the Schwinn brand, unlike the other brand that I sell, you can't really make a mistake. In other words, buying power up front necessarily is something that you needed to do when I was selling my other brand. Buying power can be something that you can respond to later, either in the commercial world or in the consumer world. I have this bike and I wish I would have gotten this other thing. Well, you don't have to throw away the bike and start over again. You can add it. So that's always been a nice thing for me, to a safety net. MSRP of the Cadence Pro 159. So it eventually open up for questions, but I'll do some key takeaways of the lineup and the name brand itself. Without a doubt, you have the most powerful name in cycling. It's the Kleenex of cycling, period, not just indoor cycling. Sometimes people will refer to a bike as a Schwinn. It's just like they'll refer to selectorized strength equipment as the Nautilus stuff. Well, I know it's not that when they point at it, but I'll kind of humor the customer and also in my back pocket feel good that the nameplate that we also manufacture and own. But for purposes of this discussion, Schwinn is your heavy hitter. It's the one that people, whether or not they came in looking for it, they will recognize it when you say it. So there's tremendous power in that word. The heritage of over 100 years, it equals cycling, and that will equal sales. There's no doubt in my mind that if I were in your position and selling to the individual consumer, I would study up on my ability to sell them fitness as a lifestyle. I would study up on my bikes, but using the name is so very powerful versus other names that consumer comes in there and they don't know because they're not into fitness when they walk in the door. But they know Schwinn because Schwinn is part of America. Not to overstate it on this post-4th of July week or whatever one. So we have a bike for that. It's just kind of a statement that, I'll say. We do. We have a bike for whatever you want, whether it's frictional resistance, whether it's magnetic resistance, whether it's chain-driven, whether it's belt-driven, whether it's old school without a console, just close your eyes and pretend, whether it's a base model console or one that has the ability to deliver power measurement and transmit it to your fancy Garmin watch. We've got it all. And in most cases, any one of those features can be gotten on any one of our base models. And lastly, polish your fitness and sell the lifestyle, and then it'll be a matter of just which product, not if they're buying. I will give you one last word of advice. When she wants it and he is saying it's going to be a clothes rack, you walk into the back room or some sort of neutral area and allow them to hash it out. Do not take sides too strongly with either one because you will lose those sales every time. Give them their space and let it work out. But generally, she's on the side of buying and he's holding her back. So anyways, I was saying that mostly facetiously and in jest, but enjoy the interactions with people. They're looking to you for advice on how to change their lives. And you have a lot of tools in your store. Great thing about indoor cycling bikes in general and in particular the Schwinn brand versus some others is when they come to your specialty store and they just saw their $5.99 treadmill dream go away that they saw in some dictat or whatever it was, you can still fit them into a full-on commercial piece of exercise equipment for a very, very tidy budget. And Schwinn will help you do that. So, Adam, that's all I've got as far as prepared, and I think I'm pretty close to the time. So if you want to unmute,
Jimmy. Yeah, well, I will go ahead and stop the recording